eVTOL Weekly, episode 18, different lineup, same amount of fun. Guys, you might reckon, oh, no, maybe not. You might recognize that Reese has changed. This is our newest member to the Hustle Brothers. We have Dylan Rogers, who has been a long-time follower of the channel. Me and Dylan have built up a friendship over the last year since we've had the channel. Dylan has been there since the very start. He's been providing us as a channel with information from day dot, and we thought, do you know what? What would be the harm in getting him on the channel, taking him on as one of the Hustle Brothers? Guys, please jump into the comments and give a big welcome to Dylan. It's his first eVTOL Weekly. We've had him call in before, but he's going to be a regular lineup to the show. Dylan, how are we getting on?
Hey, Liam. Hey, doing well. Thank you so much for inviting me on to be a part of your show. Again, just been a long time. Honestly, I've probably been watching you as long as I've been invested into Archer. So it's really a pleasure to come on, talk some Archer and eVTOLs in general. So touch on Joby, maybe touch on some hover as well. And yeah, keep the episodes going. This has been amazing to be in the chat and be a part of, and here to share any thoughts or ideas that I have, but also to listen to the chat and see if there's any other information I can bring back to the team.
Thank you so much. And do you know what? I'm so excited to have you on board. Guys, any of you that have been following us over the last week, we've started a new project with another member of our team, Christopher Bell, who has the Haste Club, and we're streaming Rocket Lab daily. Yes, we haven't been putting up as much eVTOL videos, but once we get Reese back on board, we'll be able to roll out more eVTOL content. We have Dylan here as another string to the bow. Dylan, I don't know about you, but I really would like to start pushing out a lot more eVTOL content, but not only eVTOL content, more eVTOL streams. So maybe if the chat want to jump in and sort of let me know about different ideas we could have 2 weeklies a week. We could have an Archer or a Joby or a HOVR or a Vertical specific stream. We could have an eVTOL fan club. We could have where guys call in, have their say, have a talk to us. But one thing I want to introduce from today, anyone that wants to call in, doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter how many shares you have. You can have 1 share, you can have 1 million shares. I really don't mind. Everyone's opinion matters here. And I'd love for you to come on, and you can pick mine and Dylan's brains, or you can come on and just let us know why you're investing, what's brought you to the eVTOL industry. But Dylan, I want to bring you across to some very exciting news that happened today.
Yeah.
Something that the Culper Short Report tried to pull down. We covered it on last week's weekly, where we more or less said we believe the Culper Report was a bit of fluff. So anyone that is interested in seeing us break down the Culper Report, we did do it last week. So jump back to eVTOL Weekly 17. But they didn't believe they'd be able to get a test flight over the line. What we can do, we can watch the video of the test flight, but what are your initial thoughts now that this Archer test flight of Midnight has come out?
Thanks, Liam. Honestly, I would say some of my initial thoughts, maybe if I'm being truthful, so one of the initial thoughts I had was a little disappointment. I think maybe I would personally, as the long-term investor, was looking for a bit more from the first piloted flight. Now, after a couple days have gone by, obviously I'd like to see more footage from it, get more footage from more in-air footage, and really see what that piloted experience was for Team Archer. Kind of taking a step back for my long-term investment lens into the company, I see it as a success. I see it as a win. This was something, again, that, again, I'll speak for me, maybe the community as well. This was one of those benchmarks that we were looking Archer to hit, and they did accomplish it. So they were able to put a pilot on board. When I was looking at the flight data, it did strike me a little odd that it was a 6-minute flight from takeoff to landing. So again, that was on the first and second day, something that was a little confusing to me. Kind of curious why anything that may have grounded the aircraft a little quicker than needed. But then with a few more days of thinking, and again, these are thoughts, and we'll work towards the facts on them as well with more DD. Maybe part of it also is showing the application for the aircraft and being able to also show the defense side and the defense contract side of the business, the ability for these aircrafts to take off, be in the air, as well be equipped with a pilot. How about you, Liam?
Yeah, so I can kind of get where you're coming from, with a little bit of disappointment of how long the flight was. My initial thoughts were really that, look, they've sort of proven that they can do long distance per se, autonomous flight, and it sort of made me think, were they going to push the aircraft to the extreme on the first flight when they've promised that they would get a piloted flight out? What I want to do, I want to quickly jump up because it's playing over and over here. And
Yeah.
I don't. Sorry, guys, it's been a long time since I've streamed a weekly and I haven't had to share my screen in a while, so I'm just remembering how to share the screen.
Still the best eVTOL channel out there, Liam. You're doing great.
Right, guys. So what you can see here is the Midnight is taking off in a CTOL fashion. So it's a conventional takeoff and landing. We didn't really see the vertical takeoff and landing aspect of this. I believe it was a success per se. As, look, how many CEOs preach that they're going to achieve certain goals? Look, especially when they're talking to investors. We had Adam come out and say they'll do it a week after the earnings. Look, they had so much on the plate. They did have a lot of PR happening around the time with the Olympics, with the Fallon show. So I can kind of see why they stagged that out a bit. This took place last week, and me and Dylan were actually speaking on Friday, and we did expect there would be an announcement today, because when we actually dove into it, Archer very rarely put out any big announcement on a Friday. And that could be because, look, why would you want something like this to go out there and people to sit on it for the weekend and dissect it and then come back Monday, and if it hasn't gone down a treat, you're starting the week off on a bad foot? Whereas this sort of sets a positive for the week. We may see a lot more footage come out over the next few days. We know how Archer like to do it. They don't like to do things in ones. They pump out more and more as we go along. So it wouldn't surprise me if the vertical takeoff and landing is showcased this week. We might see various different flights.
And to the timeline as well, Liam, something you said actually just popped a bubble in my head. Was thinking, with as much PR, Adam been over in the UAE, has been doing the showcase over there. I don't have it as a fact, so anybody can please in the chat let me know if this is a fact or fiction. But I would imagine that this is a event that Adam would specifically want to be on the ground at. So just in the timeline of maybe prior Archer commitments that they had overseas, again, just a thought of maybe to the timeline of when Adam was maybe able to make it back to the flight facility, for him to actually be on the ground to experience this as well.
Yeah, and then when we compare this to the likes of the Joby one, look, we done nothing but commend Joby when they came out and done it, and we sort of bashed Archer a little bit by promising it, and we never seen it happen. The fact that they have been fully transparent, and I'm glad they haven't clipped it, because that was one of the big bear cases we were getting from the likes of Bagger Holding, was every test flight is clipped. It can't actually fly that distance. Well, here we can see there's a 200-pound man sitting on the aircraft. We're flying. Yes, you're going to turn around and say it's conventional takeoff and landing, but we can keep moving the goalposts if you like. But for me, I am seeing an aircraft that's functional. It's working, doing exactly what they more or less said it's going to do. Yes, we didn't get the vertical takeoff in London, but to me, at the moment, this is a success for Archer. Guys, jump into the comments. Please let me know what you think about this test flight. Or do you think, look, Joby is still miles ahead? I don't doubt, like, when it comes to certification, coming out commercially first, I believe Joby probably will get there first. But we're going to talk about an interesting thing further on in this episode around the Joby and the 250 million investment from Toyota. The tranche got uplifted, and Reese actually done quite a nice video on it this week. I was away on holiday, and do you know when you we had that interview with Brandon, the CEO from HOVR, and there was an awful lot of complex information that he threw at us, and it was absolutely amazing. But it was one of those where I kind of needed to go away as well from the channel and sort of like get my head around the whole industry, because I did come away from that interview in one way feel like I gained an awful lot of value, but then in another way I kind of felt like an imposter in the space, because it felt like he more or less opened our eyes to certain different aspects around the industry, and it kind of had to, like, it shaped my thesis as such. But I couldn't just jump on a video straight away and start letting rip, because look, I didn't want an emotional side of me to come across about the eVTOL when I didn't fully understand my own thesis myself, because it had adapted so much. We'll touch on HOVR further on as well. But what I want to do, I want to jump straight into the comments, because they're starting to build up. And I know every week I get told by Newblade that I'm not keeping up with the comments. So
let's roll them.
We have Tom here. Hey, Dylan. And again, anyone that's joined in late, you're going to recognize that this is not Reese beside me. It is our newest member of the Hustler Brothers. We have Dylan Rogers here. He was one of our biggest fans. He was a moderator, and now he is one of the brothers themselves. The conventional takeoff and landing pilot demonstration had a two-blade configuration for the rear stations. This is important for wing-borne flight, as they can be stowed in an inline position. They haven't shown this configuration during testing of vertical takeoff, landing, or transition, even remotely controlled, which is interesting. Tom then goes on to say, this is a huge red flag for me. And I know Tom is a big investor in Joby, and I can understand when you're looking at it from a Joby investor's eyes, this is nowhere near as powerful as that Joby statement when they just came out and gave the footage of the piloted flight. Joby actually had a really interesting announcement today, and I think it's sort of gone under the radar a little bit,
like most of Joby's news does, that in their fashion. Absolutely. And what was that news, Liam?
So Joby actually announced their new CFO today. His name is Rodrigo Bruma. So I'm going to quickly jump across here and say his prior experience includes scaling global finance operations at HP, Amazon, eBay, and most recently Poshmark. Now, Dylan, when we go on to Joby's X page, it's not there. When you go into Joby's website, you have to go into investor relations. If you go into news, you will not find it. How you find it, you go into About Us and you go to Management Team, and there you go. There's Rodrigo Bruma there. I'm pronouncing that wrong, Brumana. It is. It's Joby's fashion. Joby likes to get things done. Look, that could have pumped Joby stock a little bit. Joe Ben is now released from that CFO stand-in position. He can get back to being primarily the CEO, do what he's great at doing. But really, as an investor, is it something you really need to know when they appoint a new CFO? It kind of is, because there's a chief financial officer of the company, and you kind of want to know who's sort of in control of the finances.
Well,
What is
and if
your
you
thoughts
think of,
on it?
yeah, and at this stage of the game where we're really comparing, you know, cash burn rates to what's on the balance sheet, I think the CFO does start to play an integral role into getting these companies, no pun intended, off the ground. The eVTOL space has a ton of those puns, but to get to get Joby off of the ground, and I agree with you. Even if the announcement of the CFO may not have had a 10 to 20% jump within the stock price, I for me, I believe that for me as a Joby investor, it would have brought me confidence in the company, knowing that they had that CFO on board, and even more to the point of allowing Joe Ben to get back into that founder, CEO, and be that innovator, and just kind of take that brain power away from having to sit in that CFO seat. So personally, I'm very happy for Joby. I hope that that's a great CEO that they brought on. Clearly, from the companies that he's worked with in the past, that's an amazing resume of a CFO to bring on to their board. So congratulations to Joby, and really couldn't be happier for them with the acquisition of that CFO.
I'm really interested to see the next Joby earnings call, because we always bang on about the presentation of it. And if you compare that to the likes of even Rocket Lab, so Peter Beck is great as CEO and presenting, but as CFOs are notorious for not being the best at presenting data, just because, look, they are heavily financial, and it seems to be a certain type of character that normally gets into CFO positions. But when you look at Rocket Lab, you have Adam Spice, and Adam Spice, you could listen to Adam Spice for hours on end, and he's very hands-on the company. And that's what interests me. I need to jump in and find out a little bit more about Rodrigo, because he could completely upscale their earnings call if he can get across their vision and where the money is actually going, their financial position across to investors, and not, I don't know, stumble across words. I really think it would be a really important aspect to have on the Joby team. So then I'm going to jump down. We have Zed Stacker. To be honest, I love it. It shows that it's coming around. Hopefully soon we will get vertical takeoff, but I understand why people are disappointed. And I think we all sort of share the same opinions. Like, we're all happy. We're absolutely delighted. Do you know what it is? And I think, Dylan, you're one of the biggest bulls we have on the channel when it comes to Archer Aviation.
Sure.
So anyone that doesn't know Dylan, don't think he's being bearish on the company at all, because you have the biggest Archer bull on the channel here. But I think we just have such high expectations for Adam, just because the amount of PR that's pushed out, how quickly they've done it since 2018. Like, if you compare that to the likes of Joby, we always put them on a pedestal, and sometimes I think we want them to outcompete Joby, even though they're a much younger company than them. And I'm starting to look at it as, I actually think they have two different visions, and it's going to get to the stage where we can't actually compare them anymore, because I really feel like the way Joby is going, it is a lot more commercial.
Agreed.
And we sort of touched on it a little bit. Oh no, it was actually me and you privately touched on it. But Joby have a clause in their Toyota deal, where they're not allowed to have government or military contracts unless prior approved by Toyota. Now, looking into that, would Toyota like to have a military style name with the likes of the US government? You have to think Toyota's based in Japan, and the Japanese military and the American military aren't the best of mates, shall we say.
Sure.
So would they like one of their biggest companies being such an ally for the US government? And I think that's why the clause is in it. But then, thinking about it with Joby, they're not really pushing that hard in the defensive sector. Yes, they've got a few contracts, and I could maybe see their hybrids pushing forward into that sector. But I really do think the whole vision, you can sort of see it with Elevate OS. They're building the infrastructure. They really plan on operating these vehicles. And I can just see Joby being primarily commercial. And that's just thoughts off the top of my head. People might disagree with me completely. Where when we compare that to Archer, they specifically made a part of their business, Archer Defense. We learned a little bit more color in the earnings call that what will be happening is they will be the supplier, and it kind of ties in with what Brandon Robinson, the CEO of HOVR, was saying to us about you never see Boeing or Airbus actually operate their vehicles. It's very hard to have a production and an operating business in the aviation industry. Which, look, guys, can you name me one aviation industry that both produces or aviation company that both produces and then operates their own vehicles, even cars? And you're going to say Tesla, but Tesla aren't doing it yet. And if you look at Tesla's balance sheet, like they have an awful lot of capital to sort of let go. So we found out in the earnings call that Anduril will be buying the hybrid VTOL off Archer. Anduril will then deal with getting the government contracts and operating them. And some people may be disappointed in that. I'm actually quite happy about that. Look, let Archer do what they're good at. Let them produce the vehicle. They don't have to go around chasing government contracts. Let Anduril are renowned for doing it. We've all said once it IPOs, we know Mr. Liam from the Hustle Brothers will be the first in line to get a few shares at IPO.
That's right.
But yeah, what are your thoughts on that, Dylan?
Yeah, no, I think those are great points, Liam. And something that you have going in my brain too is, maybe when the coverage for your team started on Archer Aviation, maybe there was a certain mission and vision that Team Archer as well as Adam had in mind for his company.
Yep.
And now reflecting, maybe as an Archer investor, I need to also look at the growth and maturation of what this company could or may well turn into. And what I'm kind of thinking about Archer right now is not so much of a commercial player, so not so much banking either my investment choice or success or Archer's success being on commercialization, but really almost thinking of Archer now as somebody that's going to be getting their revenue and profits by selling the aircraft. So it does bring me back to a bit of a manufacturing question I have in my head. But personally, for me, I'd be okay with me turning my lens on Archer being over to one that's going to be one that is supplying to Anduril, one that will be supplying to the UAE, and through the data that's gained through GCAA, as well as other testings that can be done with their work in with Anduril, when the FAA is ready to get on board and have commercialization as an option, they'll have that flight data then to bring to the FAA and hopefully cross that cert line as well. But right now, I think I'm having to look at Archer more as one that can build an aircraft and has, again, an order book and has purchasers in line who are ready to buy the aircraft. So as long as they can keep manufacturing, we may have a way towards revenue and hopefully profit as well.
Yeah, and I think me and you sort of touched on it in a haste stream as well, is I do believe initially going after these government contracts, going after these military deals, initially it will actually benefit investors a lot more than going directly for commercial operations, just because it'll get a serious amount of capital straight onto the books. Look, at the time we were sort of comparing Rocket Lab and Archer, and it's completely different. Like, we have a vision for Rocket Lab where you can keep upscale with government contracts, where I don't think the end goal for the likes of an Archer will be pursuing government deals. I think it's more of a sideline, but their main focus will be on commercial. Another thing I want to say is HOVR. So Horizon Aircraft crossed the dollar.
It did.
I was very interested to see that. We haven't seen any filings go in to say they're going to dilute, which I am over the moon with, because I would have felt like I was a little bit hoodwinked in an interview when Brandon said to us that they don't actually intend on diluting in the near term, because they're actually in Canada. They have, look, I am not up on the legislation in Canada, but in Canada, to help businesses, they do have a capital investment option that they can actually.
I remember Brandon speaking of that. Absolutely.
So it does sort of give me a good bit of hope there. Now we finally crossed the dollar mark. Do I believe we're going to sustain this level? I feel like the market's still a bit frothy at the moment. I could see it dipping back down, because at the moment we just feel like we're not getting much news. And I know I said we'll start covering it weekly, but we just don't seem to be getting an awful lot of news. Guys, if you want us to bring Brandon on again, 100% willing to do that. Brandon left the door open for us. I actually thought he was amazing. He stayed on with us before the interview for about an hour, and he must have stayed on about an hour after the interview. And it's just having everyday chats with him. He actually genuinely felt like a normal person. I know CEOs are normal people, but he genuinely just felt like one of the guys having a chat with us. So, yeah, I'd honestly love to speak to him again. But if that's something you guys would really like, we can reach out again. Brandon said, however many times we want him onto the channel, he'll come on. So look, it's the first step. We will get Archer and Joby on. We may have to grow a little bit. I believe when we first reached out initially, we were very, very close. We were speaking to people, but I just felt that the whole industry is sort of taken off now.
Absolutely.
I feel like at the moment, the voice of this community is not big enough yet. It'll get there. I honestly do believe it will get there.
Absolutely.
And guys, again, there's a lot more of you in the stream now. How would you feel about us covering eVTOLs on live streams more often? So if you've seen, we have a project going on at the moment called the Haste Club, and that's with one of our partners, Christopher Bell. And we're doing live streams daily about Rocket Lab. Would you be opposed to us doing it about eVTOLs, or would that be a little bit too much? Would we be repeating ourselves an awful lot, and would that sort of put you off? Or would you like to see it? Would you like, instead of eVTOL weekly, eVTOL bi-weekly, or would you like eVTOL weekly and then say an Archer a Joby, a HOVR stream? Would you like an eVTOL question and answer stream? Or it could be something like an eVTOL fan club where anyone can call in, have their say. I think I want to bring that to weekly anyway. Anyone that wants to call in, doesn't matter who you are, come in and have a chat with us.
And I think that's a great point, Liam, and to the community that you've helped just make a Discord for, make an X platform for, allow the community continue to grow on. I know for me, sometimes when I'm chatting there, I can kind of get lost in my thoughts as I'm trying to type them out. And pass those off to all the good people within the community. And so as you're typing, you might have 2, 3, 4 more thoughts. So the ability to, just kind of come on and speak as those thoughts come to your head, or kind of have any of the pre-thoughts that, anybody had, like you said, about the eVTOL space. I think it's a great way to have that engagement for the community, as I know that there's a lot of interested retail investors within the space.
I would like eVTOL Weekly. You're the only person worth watching who talks about eVTOL.
You're too kind, Z. You're too kind.
You said it, not me. No, I'm messing before people hate on it.
I know.
Shots are being fired left, right, and center. I just had to. I like the idea of the Prius of eVTOLs. And that's the thing. HOVR really did excite me. The way Brandon actually described that what they plan for the Cavalry X7 is more of a long distance eVTOL.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's a hybrid, so it has about 800 kilometer range. And if you compare that to the likes of Archer and Joby, what we sort of looking at is about 240, 260.
Absolutely.
Speed, is it something like 440? It's a completely different product compared to Archer and Joby. And Brandon very respectfully said it himself. They are more of a addition to what's out there. So it's a bit like, look, you will get a taxi around your cities, but you wouldn't particularly want to be flying or driving in a conventional taxi. If you're going long distance, you'll get the train. This will be for more long distances. It'll be for more emergency responses. He's a big man for the likes of organ transplants. I know he said he has heart problems himself, which he doesn't mind us speaking about. So I do like that aspect of it. He used to be a fighter pilot. So are you telling me, like, I know we couldn't really speak about it to Brandon, and look, I'm sure Brandon won't mind me speaking like this because, look, this is my words, this is not his words. But I believe Brandon has contacts in the military.
Sure.
No one can tell me he doesn't know people if he was training fighter pilots towards the end. Another interesting thing he sort of said as well was we brought up that can you like get through the whole certification process by doing majority simulation tests? And unfortunately, the answer more or less is yes, you can.
Yeah, he did.
So that kind of disappointed me a little bit. I wouldn't have thought that in the aviation industry, and that's not Brandon's fault. That's like just the whole aviation industry in general. I just think the tried and tested method. I've seen Brandon talk about the likes of even SpaceX, like Elon Musk. They do certain amount of simulations. I'm sure Starship works every time in their simulation, but you can't beat real world data. You know, the first time Starship ever took off, Elon wasn't planning on, he wasn't planning on, well, he would not have been planning on a failure. He doesn't want to waste money. Like, however much he comes across and says it'll be a great show and we just want data, he wants it to work first time. We're on the 9th, well, we've just had the 9th launch attempt. We still had another we're getting closer and closer of time. We still had another failure. But that's the thing. With real world data, you can sort of update your simulators, but at the same time, it shows you the simulator's always behind the real world. And there's certain parts that you cannot simulate until they happen. So I do like Brandon's approach of wanting a lot more real world flight data. And he said they actually are producing their full scale model, because I know that was a lot of bearish thoughts going about the Cavorite X7.
Mm-hmm.
People are saying that they're not producing full scale models.
And one thing too, as you had mentioned to the hybrid with HOVR, there was a question that Bill Peterson from JP Morgan had asked on the Archer Q1 earnings call. And you know, Adam's usually pretty rock solid when he's answering his Q&A questions, and this one even stumbled him up a bit. And so he was really talking about the past administration being a bit more EV focused in the aerospace sector, so supporting the eVTOLs and such, and was kind of really pointing out that with this new administration, that the hybrid powertrain may be what is getting over the line for certs. And I just wanted to kind of quote Adam on this. Bill did say that it could possibly bring a longer cert time with these powertrains, but as you had mentioned, bringing in a envelope for longer range. So it was kind of a double-edged question with that. And Adam bluntly says, "You're very observant, Bill." Kind of pauses, and yes, that is, and stumbles a little bit, and he says, "I'll call it a good observation." So it's very interesting again, where if you're listening to these Q&As from the analysts and kind of just listen to that tone of voice that your CEO, founder, whether it be from Archer or any company that you're following, and how they're answering those questions, it can just kind of read between the lines and give you a little bit of insight as well. With that, Liam, I wanted to thank you so much for having me on today as well. It's been a pleasure to be able to jump on live and share some thoughts from the Discord and X community. I think they know that I pretty much daily have something to mention about Archer. So if you'd have me back, I'd love to join you for the next eVTOL Live, if you'd have me.
You're part of the team now.
Oh, you're too kind. You're too kind.
We're going watching a rocket launch later. Are you coming?
I will be there. The Haze Club, I'll just say, I know this is eVTOL Weekly. The Haze Club is it is an amazing community. I find it very similar to the eVTOL community, one that doesn't judge when you have a thought or opinion that may be a little outside of the box, and one that, you know, is willing to take those out of the box thoughts or ideas and see if they really do connect in a real world way into Rocket Lab, speaking in that Haze Club. So Haze Club really connecting in with Rocket Lab. And just a little plug, they are having a launch today, and the Haze Club will be covering it. So I will be back live with the Haze Club, and proud to be a part of that club as well as the Hustle Brothers. It's been an awesome community to be accepted in and be a part of.
And that's it. I just really admire your story. You're free to jump off whenever you want to. And I know you have places to be and people to see. And
well, I'll say it's nobody more important than you guys. I got my 4-year-old son, so he does Taekwondo. So I'm always just super proud of him. And it's just always too hard for me not to catch something of his. So I'm going to say my goodbye for today, but I hope, Liam, you have a great day. Everybody in the chat, thank you so much for tuning in to an eVTOL Live, and I'll catch you guys on the next stream.
Yeah, honestly, I'll speak to you later, Dylan. So, guys, I'm going to stay here with you just for a little bit. You'll notice this is a little bit weird for me. I don't normally stream live on my own, so I'm going to need a chat to help me out. Again, guys, on X, for some reason, we're not getting any of our comments fired across to us. So if you can, please jump across to the YouTube, jump into the comments, help a man out while he's in the stream. Yeah, share your thoughts. And again, while you're in here, make sure to hit the like button, just because we want to share this industry out to a lot more people. We're seeing the same face every week, but we're seeing more and more new people in the industry, and it's really good. We've seen a lot more engagement. I just love you guys. But I'm going to jump across. So we have Stephen Lewandowski says, hi, everyone. And Stephen is a big investor in oil. And Stephen, I'd like to actually jump back to you and say, what is your thoughts on this eVTOL industry? And what are your thoughts on, would you prefer a hybrid model like that we've seen with HOVR? Or would you prefer to jump the gun and go straight into eVTOLs, the likes of what Joby are doing with their commercial side? Then Ramesh, conventional takeoff and landing. If Archer cannot show eVTOL with pilot in the next few days to a week, then one must consider that the powertrain for the eVTOL is such that they could not deliver the full package. Ramesh, do you really believe that they're not able to do it? I do agree it is quite strange. I know, has Tom stated it there, Liam, what are your thoughts on why they haven't shown the remote testing with the two-blade rear propellers? It is a little bit strange. Do you know what? From a 6-minute flight, we can sort of dive in, and me and Dylan had a bit of a chat prior to the stream on what we kind of expected to see during a live flight test. And the thing is, I don't know, are we diving in a little bit too much? We kind of have to give them credit where it's due. Yes, it's slightly late. It's, what, 2 or 3 weeks after they said it would come out. But they did achieve it last week. It's only that we're hearing about it today. I want to ask you, Tom, would it change your mind if they came out this week and done the likes of your vertical takeoff, if they do remote testing with the two-blade rear propellers? Or do you think, no, it's a PR stunt? It could be. It honestly could be. I'm still bullish on Archer. Like, what are we sitting at the moment? 973 even after hours. And I did sort of let you guys know during that big pump up to, was it 1350 or so, I did jump out. It was around 1140, if I believe. I cannot remember the exact price, but it was in the 11 range. I jumped out with 20% of it, as me and Reese said we're going to do. I know one of the guys then jumped in and said to us, we know our investments inside out, but our timing is completely poor. And I completely agree. No one can ever time the top, but we did get it completely wrong, jumping out a little bit too early there. But then, look, when you actually put it into the long, well, that's not even long term. If you put it into more of a midterm range, I'm sure everyone would be happy today to take 20% at the $11 range when we're sitting at 973. So it all depends on the conditions of the market, I believe, and how you feel throughout the day. And that is exactly why you shouldn't emotionally invest. It should never be a thought. It was the right decision for me at the time. Dylan's jumped back into the comments here. Still got to stay tuned in, even though I'm jumping in the car. And Dylan, I want to tell your son that I hope he has a really good time at Taekwondo. Dylan actually brings his son on prior to our streams, or sometimes after our streams, we do a little bit of a debrief on what we spoke about, what we can speak about in the next one, what went well, what could we have done better. And Dylan brings his son on, and his son is a little legend. He will be a hustle brother one day. He could be sitting here in this chair. He could be running the Hustle Brothers. We have Zed Stacker then. Brandon made me bullish on his dreams, and to be honest, I threw money at it. I bought 10,000 shares. 10,000 shares. I'll be honest, I'm not even 10,000 shares in HOVR. Very good price to get it in that, especially even if they achieve even an eighth of what his goal is. Yeah, you'll be rewarded nicely. I said it's a bit of a... You're certainly in for a roller coaster with HOVR, put it that way. My heart's saying be bullish about HOVR. My head's saying be careful with HOVR. To me, I'm investing with caution. With all due respect, we went on an interview with Brandon. I'm sure Brandon won't mind me saying this. This is genuinely just my thought. But I would like to see a little bit more investment. I know that's not his fault as such, but I would like to see a lot more investment from bigger institutes, or not even on the scale of Toyota or Stellantis, but something along them sort of lines. My thoughts on like the Toyota this week, me and Reese, after that interview with Brandon, we were sort of questioning ourselves. We were like, are we doing the right thing? Are Archer and Joby actually going to work if it is so hard to produce an aircraft and then operate it itself? And it did sort of like play in my mind, and it was kind of like I didn't want to go on, make a video and say something like that without kind of thinking about it. And then when I've sort of dove in a little bit more, and then because at the time we were sort of thinking, what if they don't hit the tranches for Toyota? Then they're sort of surrendering some shares in one way, but not actually getting investment. And it did sort of make me think. But then when I seen Toyota come out and they actually have released some capital to Joby, it's kind of swayed my head again. And I'm like, do you honestly believe Toyota would be throwing 250 million at a company if they don't believe it's going to work? Just because Toyota backed them doesn't mean it's going to be successful. But no, I don't think Toyota are stupid in any way. I've read that one there. Tom says, thanks, Dylan. Look, yes, absolutely would. And that's what I mean, Tom. That's why I love people like you in this community. You're completely honest. You're just like us, where you're happy to be proven wrong. And I think we all have to put our bull and our bear hats on every company every single day. With the likes of Archer, look, I get accused of being a flip-flop when it comes to both Archer and Joby. We went through months late in Joby saying that we don't believe their presentation is great. We would like a little bit more PR. But then we've now turned to Archer does too much PR and doesn't actually perform enough. And we're praising Joby for not pumping out too much PR and getting things off the line. I think there's a happy medium. I do think the CFO announcement could have been a little bit better by Joby. But look, it's not going to make me bearish on stock. VTOL on transition with two blade configure would change my mind. So, we have bag of holding in there. They made the new Archer too big and heavy. It can't lift itself. The two-blade version caused too much vibration, even when it was lighter. Bag, interestingly, has it sort of changed your mind? This is completely respectful. It's not joking around today. Did it sort of change your mind? Please be honest with me. Did it change your mind about an eVTOL being able to lift a person a certain distance? Come on, you can't say that an eVTOL can't lift. I know it took off, conventional takeoff and landing, but don't get me wrong, I don't think you believe that even come this far this quick. I have 10,000 shares of HOVR and 15,000 in Archer. Are you still adding to HOVR? I'd like to know that. You could be rewarded very, very handsomely. But on the flip side, See, I've said it to Reese, with the likes of Archer and Joby, I feel like even if you make the wrong decision, there's going to be like red flags and alarm bells that will, yes, you'll lose money, but you're not going to lose everything. It's not financial advice. Please don't follow this, because with Archer and Joby, there'll be red flags if they did start failing, and you could jump out there and then. Whereas I believe HOVR is that close to the line that one day you could be down 80-90% in a heartbeat. And that's what just scares me with playing around too much with penny stocks. We've said it before, how we've been stung badly in the likes of your Virgin Galactic, your Tilrays. I know Reese with Nicola. I'm not saying it reminds me of them, but it just does make me wary of penny stocks. I remember Reese said it before, is everyone likes to make money quickly. They're always looking for the quick buck. I know this stream would have a few hundred people, 1,000 people in it if I had put it on, this is how to make money, or this is how to make $1 million in 2 days in Archer or Joby Aviation, because everyone wants to do everything quickly. But as Reese used to say, what the rush? And when you invest with an emotional decision like that, that is exactly how you get stung very, very quickly, because what goes up quickly goes down quickly. We've said it numerous times. That was some of my concerns with them going back or getting delisted. Yeah. I don't want to, do you know what the thing is? I really, really like Brandon. As a friend, I really, really like Brandon, but I'm just trying to think with my investor head. And that's why I always want to be honest with you guys. The guy is lovely, amazing. He has maybe bullish on the company, and this is not me being bearish on the company. And I know he loves our style. He loves that we can be honest with you guys. Just to me, to invest a nice amount of capital in something, I really need to see a little bit more new. And I know they're very early. And I believe once new starts coming out, it will start coming out quickly. But sometimes you're better to invest further on. And I think Warren Buffett said it before. Sometimes you're better to invest at a higher price, but have the facts behind you, rather than hoping that something's going to happen and making that little bit of a gap. Look, if we got amazing news, we could 100%, 200% up within a day or two. But if they got, say, an investment from the likes of a Toyota or Stellantis, that would make me more confident to stay in the stock, because I don't believe it will go bankrupt or get delisted. So to me, what would make me comfortable really would be backing by a major player. I think that's the edge that Archer and Joby have, and that's why we focus primarily on Archer and Joby. Honestly, guys, actually, tell me, how many of you are interested in vertical aerospace? We did cover it quite a bit, and I can see there is quite a bit of a following in vertical aerospace. We're in contact with Vertical, but it's kind of, we're not covering them an awful lot. And it'd always be great to get an interview with someone, but there's no point getting an interview with the likes of a Vertical Aerospace and none of you being interested in it, and then Vertical Aerospace thinking we've wasted their time. So if we can get a following in Vertical Aerospace, I'd be happy to fire across an interview. But at the moment, I just don't feel our base is that big in Vertical. And look, you might not even be investing in Vertical, but if you would watch something like that, please let me know. Tom, agreed. And 4-blade rear rotors have to stay powered, or they will cause significant and potentially constantly changing lift and drag on the different sides of the craft. Tom, I think I've asked you this before. Are you an engineer, an aviation engineer? And if you are, would you call into one of our shows one day? Because I really want to get like an aviation engineer in here to have a little bit of a chat, because it was one thing me and Reese felt a little bit like a deer in the headlights when Brandon started speaking to us, because he is so knowledgeable about the industry. And look, we've said it before, me and Reese are average working men, and it felt like we were thrown in the cage with a ball, because he had all the information, and it kind of made us feel like we were nakedly exposed a little bit when it comes to like the engineering side of electric vertical takeoff and landing vehicles. I've said it before, I'm not a specialist when it comes to eVTOLs. I invest in them because I'm passionate about them, and we try to get in contact with as many specialists we can, relay that information back to the layman. But I would like to start talking more to a aviation specialist. I think Dylan would like that too, to be fair. That's awesome, Zed Stacker, and I'm sure it's great portfolio you have too. Guys, let me actually ask you something. Any of you invest in Rocket Lab, and have you seen our Haze Club? Because we actually have quite a bit of fun in it. We're doing a live stream tonight on a rocket launch, and I'm actually so excited. We have another guy, Christopher Bell, that we partner with, and you know what? It's good fun. He is a lot more laid back than what you're used to, so don't come on shocked that he might go for like a beer run in the middle of it, but it's all part of the fun and games. But let me know if you're going to be there. If you enjoy listening to, I don't know why you'd enjoy listening to me speak, but quite a few of you seem to still be here with me. So I want to thank you so much for that. But if you enjoy listening to the likes of the Husbro speak, Dylan speak, Christopher speak, join us in the House Club. You don't have to be massively interested or invested in Rocket Lab. If you just want to see a rocket launch, quite cool. Come and join us in it. Dylan has only recently started investing in Rocket Lab, and we actually go through day by day his learnings, and like we bring it back to the everyday investor. So if it's something that you haven't looked at, it is quite interesting. But look, that's not financial advice. Do whatever you want. Invest in chocolate for all I get. Great to see you, Tom. Dylan says no, 6 minutes as an airplane, so it still doesn't float bags boat. No problem. However, I stopped when it went over $1. So you're quite happy with that 10,000 share position. Are you holding it for the long term? Or say if we did get 100, 200% run up in a day, would you be taking a little bit of profit, or would you be selling your position? I really just would like to know. I know an airplane could carry 200 pounds 5 miles. The power required is vastly different to an electric plane. Do you know what, Bag? You're actually onto something there, big time. Because Brandon actually said to us, a helicopter in hover, the amount of torque it takes to hover. If you notice with the likes of a helicopter, when they take off, they normally go straight or they'll tilt side to side. To actually stay in one location does drain an awful lot of power, and it will require an awful lot of energy from the batteries. So I can kind of see what you're saying with the likes of a hover configuration. I know that Brandon said himself to maintain in a hover on electricity alone in the Cavorite X7 would be very stringent on its power supply, and that is why at the moment they're maintaining their hybrid model. But we need to think with Horizon aircraft. Their goal is to go 800-kilometer range. So they can't really afford to have a fully electric battery that gets completely drained during complete HOVR. Where if you think of the likes of a Midnight or an S4, they'll be flying from one location to another that may be, 5 miles, 2 miles, 3 miles away from each other, and then they'll be charging up hopefully. So is it that stringent on the battery that you still wouldn't be able to maintain? I know we spoke to Brandon, and Brandon says with no doubt they can do it. So that, I don't really want to get into politics. We try to more or less stay talking about the stocks, about our thoughts, about the community's thoughts. I don't really like to talk about certain scenarios that go on in the world, because the world can be a strange place. HOVR is 100% gamble. I like CEO, but I don't know if he can get the capital to keep going. And that's the thing. Sometimes we have to separate our friendships and where people put their savings, their life savings into. Some people really heavily expose themselves in investing. They like to throw the dice. And I wouldn't like just a friendship to be why I throw a nice amount of capital into something. That's all I'm going to say. Why would Archer flying less than 200 pounds as an airplane for 6 minutes change my mind? It strengthens my beliefs that they can't do it. But that's fair play, Bag. At least you're honest and you're sticking to what you believe. Get Adam. We were very close to getting, I know what for like, we were very close to getting a Archer interview, I'd say back October, September time, but I just feel like the whole industry is taking off so much right now. Yeah, I really want to do it. I really want to get Archer Joby. We will do it, but we need to, as a community, just maintain focus, stay together, keep the voice going out. That's why I think if we do more frequent eVTOL shows, get the community a lot more engaged, get different opinions on. So we could have anyone from anywhere in the world call in, explain why you're invested in the likes of Archer and Joby, explain why you believe it's work. You get a bear on and explain. But I think that will show Archer and Joby that we have a community that cares about them, not just PR, but we want to actually know about the business. And I feel like instead of just listening to myself or Reese ramble on every week, it'd be a lot more interesting for you guys if we had different people. Like, who enjoyed, honestly guys, please jump in and tell me who enjoyed today. Not the fact that Reese isn't here, I would love Reese to be here, but sometimes having me and Reese talking every week, it can be a little bit repetitive. But having Dylan on, Dylan is so knowledgeable. Don't you agree how knowledgeable Dylan is? But I think that would be quite interesting having Dylan on the team now, because say this week it could be me and Dylan. One week it could be Dylan and Reese for all the guys that hate me. But yeah, we can constantly change out, or we could have 3 of us on. But it really sort of like frees me up a little bit, because at the moment we have like Rocket Lab, eVTOLs, and we don't want to like drop our hand at the moment. And it feels like the more members we have in this team, and guys, we are not done. Anyone that wants to be a content creator and is just passionate, doesn't matter if you've never created content in your life. Honestly, Dylan had never made video. He had called in with us, and I think he'll happily let us say that. He had called in with us. New Blades called in with us. We're always free for a call. And if you'd like to join the Hustle Brothers team, look, you don't have to be a specialist. I'm no specialist. I just enjoy talking about eVTOLs, and I love this community. It's a little bit sad, but like, I feel like a lot of you guys are my friends now, and it feels weird sometimes talking to a camera, but sometimes like days like today, you get a little bit caught up in it, and you just keep talking to the camera, and it feels like you are talking to people. And when I see the interaction happening, it feels good, not gonna lie. Patrick, hello again, mate. Would you like us to do more eVTOL streams? Let me know, Patrick. Newblade, thank you so much for never forgetting to remind me to put this out. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And for more, you can also join. We have a Discord community. So Newblade's actually one of the moderators in there. And also we have an ex eVTOL fan page. Look, they're both entirely free to join. But you're not only speaking to us, you're speaking to the whole world about eVTOLs. The more people we have in this community, can you imagine? It's a lot stronger coming to Archer and Joby with, we have an eVTOL community that has X amount of people that are interested in hearing about your thoughts. Whereas when we just come and say we're a YouTube channel that does eVTOL content, it looks like we're doing it just for us. Whereas if I can actually show that we have community that actually care about Archer and Joby, I think it'll hit a lot harder. So guys, honestly, please join the eVTOL fan investor channel. And then with the Discord, the guys get very into the fundamentals. They get very into the charts. We have different channels. Like if financials and charts all you're interested in, we have guys just like you. Sometimes you feel like a weirdo in this space, yeah. I know when me and Reese first started this off, thought we were the only ones that were interested in this. And as this community grows, can't believe how many of you are actually out there. And we can all be weirdos together. But yeah, that's just me speaking. Tom, not an aviation engineer. I designed and prototyped an electric motorcycle and then worked as an engineer in the auto industry for a decade. Now I own a brewery. Now that is a story, brother. Honestly, call him one day, because that, look, aviation engineer, auto engineer, you made your own electric vehicle. Come in one day. I think it's always been a mix between the time horizon and the risk tolerance you have, and have to gauge how much eVTOL % is best to hold in each individual portfolio. And you know me, guys. My philosophy is concentrate on what I believe in, and hopefully, as long as I'm here every day and I do my research right, I believe I'll get to where I need to go. However, if you don't have the time to do research, or you're just following guys on YouTube, like, I want to say to you now, you're part of this community. You watch eVTOL Weekly every week. You may watch all our videos. But you're hearing it from my perspective. How do you know my perspective's right? Or how do you know Reese's perspective's right? We could be completely wrong. We could be firing down the wrong alley. The likes of Bag of Holding could be completely right. With respect, I don't believe Bag of Holding's right, but with respect, Bag of Holding don't believe I'm right. But that just shows completely conflicting opinions. But I honestly think whatever we discuss on eVTOL Weekly, on a Haze Club, you need to go away and do your own research on what we have said. You could come back, you can fact check us. You can come back and say that's completely wrong, or you can say you've went with the wrong approach, but at least you're more educated on it. And that is my whole goal here. Is you'll notice we speak about the news, but then I want you to get to know us as people. We are average retail investors. Honestly, I'll speak for me and Reese. We weren't born into money. I'm sure he won't mind us saying that. So we are the average retail investor, but we want to do it. We want to show you the journey we have. We will get back to the road to glory eventually once we build these two projects up, and once we have a team together we will get back to the road blur and we'll show our journey on how we get from a smaller portfolio up to a larger portfolio live on air. But for me, at the moment, my goal is to just keep spreading my thoughts, keep doing my own research, speaking with you guys daily in these comments. You'll adapt my thesis, and hopefully with your help, it'll get me to where I want to go. Because I said it on a Haze Club recently. You all know my father died back in August. And he was the one that basically told me to create this channel. And we weren't that serious about the channel. And I remember him saying, like, consistency is everything. And after that happened, I must have took about 4 weeks off. You remember it? Do you know what? When something like that happens, I didn't want to invest anymore. Didn't care about YouTube. Didn't care about that, honestly. But then when I actually got back into it, it really focused me. And it was like, do you know what? This community, if I provide a service showing you guys my thoughts, my thesis, how it can challenge your minds a little bit on why I think a certain way about a stock, it doesn't mean it's right. And I believe you guys can help sharpen my tool set by, I know it's a bit of a selfish approach, not gonna lie, but when I'm investing, I'm telling you my thoughts. You're going to come back and you're going to sort of help change my thesis, and you'll see my thesis evolve over time. You'll see how successful or not successful I become in investing over a certain time frame. And it would be a direct reflection of what I'm learning along the way as an average retail investor like yourselves. But my genuine end goal to all of this is my mother is my everything, and to make this succeed, to make a portfolio with a nice amount of wealth that I could support her means everything. That's what investing's about. It's not about who's right, who's wrong. Look, any of us could say on a given day Tesla will be up or down a certain day. Eventually, we're both going to be right on a certain day. So that's why I, with all due respect, I take both bull and bear with the same sort of level of respect, because just because the sun's shining doesn't mean it's not going to rain. But anyway, let's get back to investing. I invest in Rocket Lab. Dylan, can you share the text with the links, please? Newblade, have I not made you a moderator on YouTube? I promise you I'll make you a moderator after this so you can share links. Zed, hope you have some time and you can catch the launch with Haze Club tonight. Honestly, guys, that's going to be great, because in the Haze Club, you have Christopher, who's so passionate about Rocket Lab, has been in it ever since it was a SPAC. You have us who have always been passionate about Rocket Lab, been more focused on eVTOLs, but have just came into Rocket Lab space. And then you have Dylan, who is a new investor to Rocket Lab, but the amount of effort and due diligence he puts in, he can take on some of the greatest minds in this space. But the three of us together is such a laugh. Like, me and Dylan could be talking, and next thing Chris could turn around and next thing he's just driving on the stream. You're like, where you going? I'm going to get a beer. I was like, oh my God, this is completely different, but I love it. Yeah. Do you know that lifting off and transitioning to forward flight would take more energy than Archer's entire roll wing borne takeoff and landing? I didn't know that specifically until I spoke to Brandon. Brandon said the amount of torque it takes to stay in a HOVR is insane. Oh, thanks, Noob. Always great ideas. So, the permanent link to invite your friends to join us on Discord is this. So, roughly around 30% motor torque for wing-borne flight. Tom, I really need you on this show at some stage because you actually have such an amount of information. If HOVR ran 200% in one day, I'm out. It'll most likely crash. But like I said with HOVR, I like CEO and the idea, but the stock is extremely risky and faces delisting, I think, in July. And the thing is, there's an awful lot of companies that have been delisted or gone bankrupt that have great ideas. How much of us love Lilium as a product? And we've seen what happened. I still love the concept of Virgin Galactic, but that as a business model, like, there's a difference between watching something and enjoying it and loving a product and actually putting your money there to try and make money. Like, at the end of the day, no matter how much you love a product, you're giving a company your money that you have earned. Would you just go to any random guy on the street that is friendly to you and give him money just because you like him? You don't really know what he's going to do with it, and he's sort of, everything about him is telling you this is not entirely a great idea. But he is a nice guy, and his vision's good. That's all I'm going to say. I was talking about Archer. Bag says, Dylan, I'll most likely check out Z-Stack. I honestly do, and if you want to call in, please do. A normal helicopter can lift more when it takes off-roading and it saves fuel. I know my drones fly longer in holding patterns than they do in staying in one place. I know Bag's quite into drones. I'll dig on it, Dylan. And then, sorry, got to restart. Got here too late. Old head, it's never too late. Welcome here. And if you want to see a rocket launch, come join us later. You're my friend, Liam, through and through. Dylan, we're lifelong friends. Trust me. You're here every day. Guys, actually, please, everyone, go in. This is Christopher Bell. Going to the Hayes Club Day. I think he has like 6 subscribers at the moment. He needs 50 to do live streams. So please jump in and just bang the subscribe button for Hayes Club. Whether you're into Rocket Lab or not, just please help the Hustle Brothers out and get Chris to be able to go live with us. It'll benefit us all because I know Chris is getting very interested in the eVTOL space. He is very interested in the likes of Archer Defense and what the commercial or what the government side is like in the eVTOL space. So yeah, please guys, check out Chris. He is another good friend of mine. So again, Dylan has shared the Discord link. They really want you in Discord. These guys are amazing. 47 new members on X community since we named it. 47%. And you know what? We renamed it from, was it Archer Investor Community to, or Archer Investors to the eVTOL Investor Community. So we thought, you know what? Let's include all investors in this. Do you know what? I get an awful lot of my information from that community now. I just jump in, see what the guys are sharing, do a little bit of deep diving on it. And if it works out, do you know what? Makes them weekly. Great to see you here, old head, honestly. It is. And guys, do you know what? Please bang the subscribe button. We're nearly at 2,500. We have a goal. We've set it with Cole. We haven't actually seen Cole in a while. I know we went on holiday. We set it with Cole. We believe we can get to 5,000 by September. Couldn't be a stretch, but yeah, we're nearly at 2,500. And if you want to join along the journey, if you like me just talking about investing, we can make it a daily thing. We can make it like the Haze Club, I have no problem. I'm kind of free now with work. I've currently changed job at the moment, so it kind of frees me up with content creation a little bit to do a nice bit more. I'd like to get back to making more videos as well, so potentially I could do them in the mornings and then live streams in the evenings, but nothing's stopping me from doing a eVTOL daily live stream and then jumping across to Haze Club and doing a Rocket Lab daily live stream. If it's something your guys would be interested in, like if we can get 10 people jump in here and say they'd watch a daily live stream, we'll start doing a daily eVTOL live stream. But I don't want to be like wrecking your heads seeing my face every time you jump on the YouTube app. You just get sick of me, honestly. I wouldn't want to see myself that much, so yeah, let me know. I just make more money on Archer, and I think the thesis is everyone is trying to wait FSD from Tesla. We are waiting for FSD planes used for taxis and everything else. And that's the thing. We know that's the long-term goal. We know once we get piloted certification, we know in the long term they are going to be autonomous. And I think that really is where the money's made. Once we make these autonomous. That's all I'm saying. Do share, don't forget to like and subscribe. And again, you can always join the Discord and the X community. My Joby call got demolished. Did you do a call when they jumped up? We've always said what goes up quickly comes down quickly. I'm not that mad on options. Actually, now that Dylan's one of the host brothers, he can actually teach me about options one of the days. We can do that live. I actually think that'd be quite interesting. I have no problem saying, no, I don't. I know the basic concept of options, but I've never done it. And I've no problem with saying that. Like, I have no problem with saying I am not a specialist in this. I believe I know quite a amount of details about Archer, Joby, even the eVTOL space in general. Rocket Lab, I would be quite knowledgeable on. It doesn't mean I'm right about everything. When did you buy Mifras? Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Bag of holding since selling 370, not planning on selling. First time seeing flight, no transition. Got some Joby before the recent jump up and got lucky. Sold it after some tariff scare pushed down the market. Honestly, I've actually said on the Haze Club, in green days, you always think you're like the best investor going. On green days, you always believe it's going to get greener. And then on red days, it's never as bad as you believe it is on a red day. And always in these great big market scares, and it's going to be a recession. It's going to just sit back, please. Just have a chat with us. Sit back. It doesn't have to be with us. Have a chat with anyone. Have a chat with your best mate at home. But don't just react because you've seen it on the news that, I don't know, Donald Trump has said this, or there's some political thing happening across the world. Get your facts behind you. Get your news from different sources. Verify that what's happening is happening, because the market is a very emotional place, and you can actually see the heartbeat and the brain of the market. You can see what drives the market, what brings it up and down, and it's easier to see it after it's happened. The hardest thing to always see is like when you're in the middle of it, because really you're in the height of that too. Minnie, great to have you here. Thanks. Interesting place to be. No, I'm still a great name peasant. Great name peasant gang. Joby holder I am. It is I'm. Have I seen you here before? If I haven't, welcome to the Hustle Brothers. Would you like to see a daily eVTOL show? If so, throw it into the comments. If you want to see more of this, please let me know. A glider can fly without any torque. Wings are great, but unlike batteries, scaling the size of them makes them better. Joby ran by engineers, Archer ran by Wall Streeters. I can see where you're going with that, but I do think Archer do know what they're doing. I do believe they do like a good bit of PR, but like at the same time, look, don't we all? Zed Stacker, I'm trading too. I'll be glad to discuss with you about targets, strategies, etc. on Discord if you want. You're really pushing this Discord, brother. I love it, but yeah, guys, honestly, meet Newblade on Discord. He's always there, so yeah, please let him know. Francisco, this guy is a genius when it comes to anything to do with space or aerospace. If you have an Onyx, make sure to follow him. We're quite good friends with Francisco, and I don't believe he's back on X at the moment. Something happened with his account, but he's always following us here. He did add more Archer today. And you know what? Not a bad shout. What were we? Down 3.57 today. So after that, it sort of calmed off after that big run up and then that short report pulling it down. We're sort of back to business now. When did Archer and Joby say they would be carrying passengers around the Middle East? I believe, is it the end of 20? The God's telling me, was Joby saying by the end of 25? And I think Archer was saying by the first quarter 26. But don't quote me too much on that. Can someone jump in and verify me on that? Because door-to-door would be more convenient in robotaxis. I believe that will be the case, but what's stopping you from getting in? And this way will work better on like an Uber or something like that, where it's all on one app. And say I know robotaxi probably won't work through Uber because it'll be completely against Uber's. I believe Tesla will have their own app and everything. But in my head, robotaxi picks you up from the dock, brings you to the vertiport. Vertiport brings you across, and you have robotaxi waiting for you the first side. That concept, mate, sign me up to the team. How much Guinness have you had tonight? I wish I had some, I'm not going to lie, but no, I haven't had none. I'm just a tired man at the moment. Come chat with us on Discord. Green days are busy, red days are too quiet, when it's actually the days you need. Ted, I like you same-minded. Francisco, awesome to see you here. Honestly, Francisco, the whole community love you. If you want to come live with us, please do. This year, Archer said, so I thought Archer said, I was nearly certain Archer said first quarter 26, and Joby said the end of this year, but maybe not. Uber is, I don't believe they're completely dead. I believe they will adapt. Well, thank you, Newblade. But I think this year is becoming more and more unlike, yeah, I can see, I don't know. I do reckon Joby could do it by the end of this year. Don't know. This summer, Archer start in testing planes this summer in UAE. They push all projections back constantly. They said, right, guys, I'm going to be dead honest with you. I have a rocket launch stream in the next few minutes. If you enjoyed this, please bang the like button. If you want daily, make sure to jump down to the comments. Let me know if you want to see eVTOL Talk Daily. If you want to carry on with the chats, make sure to jump over to Haze Club, and you'll have me there for another, I don't know, 2 hours, shall we say? Right, guys, thank you so much for being here. It's lonely being on your own, yeah? I'm so used to having a teammate on these live streams. But you know what? We kept a lot of you guys here, and I want to thank you so much for that. I can't believe that everyone stayed to listen to me talk. It is hard to talk to a camera on your own while anything can be said in the comments, but I completely respect you guys. I know what Brandon said. He goes, you don't get much hate in your comments, and that is commending you guys. You guys always have kept it respectful, and I just want to thank you for that. If you're going to leave me now, I'll see you next week. Well, I'll hopefully see you on a few videos during the week anyway. If you do like this, come meet me. You'll probably see Chris having a beer or something on Hayes Club. We'll watch a rocket launch, enjoy it together, have a bit of a laugh. We'll see Dylan again. Do you know what? I'll see you then. Right, guys. Until then.